really happy to have you here. We're a show called the Mixed Company Podcast.
Mhm.
Our network, 19 Media, is an official partner with Millions. So my name is Luis, and I can't thank you enough for being here. And
Yes, sir.
really appreciate your time. So everybody, welcome John Ingram. And yeah, let's get right to it. So you are a young fighter, 8-0. Really excited to talk to somebody whose career is up and coming. I
Yes, sir.
always think that a lot of fighters, young fighters, are kind of having trouble getting their name out there. Boxing can be a little
Mhm.
harder to find, especially with a lot of these places going to streaming. What do you think? How do you feel about it? Trying to make a name for yourself and trying to be known. How does it feel?
Um, it's definitely not easy. It's a lot of young talent. It's a lot of great young talent coming up in boxing right now. So everyone's has their, I would say, like an entourage, of fans that's rocking with them pretty heavy, and especially with all the different platforms too. It's not like how it used to be really with Showtime, where everybody either was fighting on Showtime or they was fighting on Top Rank.
Right.
So a lot of people only know it's them two avenues to watch. Now I do like what the Zone is doing. The Zone is showing a lot of platforms, on their network. The who I'm signed with, Misfit show on there. I know Pro Box. I think Golden Boy is too, and it's a couple of other promotions and companies that's showing on there. So I like that avenue. So it's not like, okay, you have, I might be over here on the Zone, but then somebody else might be like, okay, well, I'm fighting over here on this type of broadcast. So everybody got to bounce around and pay all these different subscriptions and all that. So I feel like it's starting to get back easier, but it definitely is kind of hard because of the fact of like I said, there's so many guys and the young talent that's coming up, and then you gotta have that thing. Like I like to use Javante as an example. You know, you got a lot of great fighters like Javante, but a lot of them not explosive like him. He had that explosive, that Mike Tyson type of showing when he fights. So that caught the eye. That made him so popular because he's stepping in the ring. You never know when they're gonna go out. It could be the first round, it could be the eighth round, but you just know when you're watching Javante, somebody's going down.
Right. Absolutely. So, on that note, what would you say? And I say this without any disrespect. I'm not a fighter. I've taken a couple of boxing
Yeah.
classes that spar just for fun, but I'm a fat guy, so I don't know that life. But
Sure.
what's kind of the biggest hurdle? Is it maybe it's not streaming or accessibility, but is it maybe fighters aren't as active, or maybe some people fighters are called boring? I wouldn't say that, but is that part of it?
Um, Activity definitely does play a part. I feel like activity is a big major factor in that. But also when you go to the boring part, you gotta you gotta do what's best for you, but you also gotta kind of try to deliver what the fans want. For instance, like I use Shakur Stevenson as an example. He's a hell of a fighter. He's a master class when it comes to boxing, but it's no excitement. So people say it's boring. But as someone that's really into boxing and fans that's really into boxing, watching him, you like, okay, you see the art, you see the mastery of the way his punches and defense are, versus the common fan would like to see the Javante style. Someone getting knocked out. They want to see a knockout, a brutal KO. So the boring aspect, I feel like that just plays a part of your style. You know, um that's why I like to switch it up sometimes myself personally. Like I'm known for KOs, but I can also box too, and I like to try to display both when I'm fighting. So for the casual fans in the boxing world, they see the skills and talent that I really have. But for the normal fans, they see, okay, he's still knocking guys out. I'm still explosive, So, all that really plays a part in everything. It's a lot of factors in it. You just never know until you get that one good fight, you beat that one good fighter, that one good knockout, and then you just blow up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love boxing so much. I
Mm,
love watching technical fighters. I never, very rarely do I say a fight was boring because I love
right,
watching guys download information, kind of move around, adapt.
right,
So, but people just want to see KOs, and
right.
that can be that can be difficult. I don't love that,
Yeah.
but another question I had about how to make a name for yourself. We are in 2025. Social
Mhm.
media is king. Is there any possible way for a young fighter to make a name for themselves without an Instagram, TikTok, etc.? Or is that just as necessary as a pair of boxing gloves these days?
I feel that it is. I feel that it is because I'm just now really getting more into even posting like outside of when I'm in camp. Most of the time I just used to post when I was in camp. Then when I was out of camp, I might post here and there on my social media, but now I'm more active on there because I feel like that does play a part, of people seeing you when you outside of camp and you always staying busy. So it's always videos. When you posting videos, you can always catch new eyes on you when you post anything. So I feel like that plays a big factor in the evolving into a top elite fighter. Like you can have the skills. There's a lot of great fighters out there, but they never had the fan base behind them to really get them to that next level. Everything plays a part. The hard work that you put in, the winning that you put in, plus the fans that you gain when you're putting in all this work. So I definitely feel like social media plays a big part of boosting athletes up because a lot of times the fans make fights. If okay, for like again, I'm bringing up Javante again. So when Javante and Ryan had their beef going on, obviously as a promoter, as a businessman, you seeing all these fans engaged in that and want to see that fight happen. Okay, I want to make that fight happen because now I know I'm going to get paid.
Right.
And so the fans really be making a fight. So I feel now, back then it was possibly a little different. I'm not really sure. Obviously, I wasn't boxing back then. I wasn't old enough, but now I feel social media and the internet and the influence of social media plays a big part in the boxing world today.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I've always thought so, and it's great to hear from somebody,
Mm,
in the boxing world. And yeah, I'm an old man. I remember boxing in the 90s.
yeah.
Switching it up. So you've actually boxed in England, Newcastle and
Yes.
Manchester, which is amazing. I've
Yes.
visited London. It's super cool. I've always wondered when boxers travel overseas. For me, the jet lag is killer. Like, how do you stay focused? How do you get your training back in line? Like, how are you not just foggy, going into the
Right.
gym? What is that like?
So what helped me was the exhibitions I had with Floyd.
Okay.
I did three. I think I did three exhibitions with Floyd, and two of them was out the country. One in Dubai and one in London. So that helped me prepare me for going in someone's else territory and a territory I'm not common to, I'm not used to, and that got me prepared too. But also the thing I like to do is because I'm on Mountain Standard Time right now. So most of the time when I'm when I know I'm fighting out the country, I train. I think it's like 10, 11 a.m. here, or it might be like 9 a.m. And that'll be around the time I'll be fighting there. So
Okay.
I'll be train. I change my schedule here to match the schedule I'll be on there. So if anything happened for it, like for example, my last fight, it was I was supposed to fight and I think they had it in Dublin. It was on the Watson card. I think it was in Dublin. I was supposed to fight on that the week after the fight I just had. And some things that came up, but my promoter, he still wanted to make sure, I putting in work. He still wanted to make sure, I got the fight. So he was like, hey, like, if everything work out, we can have you fight this weekend. And this is that Monday for that Saturday. So, you know, but I already been training on that schedule, Dublin and because we fought in Manchester, I think, man, it was on the same schedule. So
Right.
I'm like, I'm already, on that schedule. I'm like, okay, cool. I just got to start cutting weight, doing a hard cut a little early. And I actually flew in the day of weigh-ins.
Really?
So I came straight off the plane to the hotel. Didn't even get to my room yet. I went straight to the hotel, and they had weigh-ins at the hotel. So I had to go straight to weigh-ins and, fight the next day. So the jet lag didn't play a factor on me. I thought it would, since it had been right there on that same day. But, that's why I like to train here to get me prepared on that schedule. So I'm already sleeping on that schedule. I'm already ready. A few things might throw the schedule off with the flight, but besides that, I know my body is ready to function at that time that I'm gonna be fighting. So it would all worked out, and I was all good.
That's amazing. How long before your actual trip did you have to change your schedule for? Like a week, a month? Like how long?
Mm, like I said, I knew about the Dublin card. I think it was a month before, when they had first announced it. That's when they said I was supposed to be on that card. So I started then. I'm
Okay.
already training early, and then what also helped was my last two was out there too. So
Mhm.
I had already been used to training on their time zone for these last two fights. So my camp's already been on them time zones. So it really wasn't nothing new switching over. Like for this camp, I'm in camp right now. I'm fighting next month. I'm not sure how much I could say yet
Sure.
because they haven't announced it, nothing yet. But I had to make some adjustments because I'll be fighting in the U.S. this fight.
Okay.
So switching from training in the mornings all the time to switching to now I'm training more at nighttime to get myself and sparring at nighttime to get myself ready to fight at that time. It's been a little difficult, been a little adjustment because I'm so used to training in the mornings and stuff now. But that's why I'm also glad they gave me a notice ahead of time so I can get back adjusted to that time zone. Well, our time fighting in our time zone.
Awesome. That just, and I've been to Dublin too. It's actually a really amazing place. So I can't
Okay,
wait to go back.
nice.
Yeah. So that shows just your dedication to the boxing game. Now you are based out of Vegas now, right? Is that where you fight out of?
So, excuse me. Yes, I was based out of Vegas for a couple of years. I just recently moved to Arizona, and I've been having my camps and everything out in Arizona.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm in Tucson, so shout out to Arizona, baby.
Okay, nice.
Uh, yeah. So, question for the time you were in Vegas. You are very clearly dedicated. Your focus. How do you maintain your focus in a town that's just like a playground where you can just get into all sorts of trouble? And we know
Mm,
about boxers that have gotten themselves into
yeah.
trouble in Vegas. How do you How did you maintain your focus while you lived there?
So that was the biggest factor, like especially when it came to my parents and my team, about being focused and dedicated, not falling into the gambling and the party life and the nightlife and all that. But I never been a party type of guy. Like, I like to go out and enjoy myself here and there, but like I'm not, it's rare. Like, somebody I know, I could be real close to them, invite me out. I might tell them yeah, and then I stay here with the kids and the lady, because I just don't go out like that, and I never really been I like, don't get me wrong, I like gambling, but I never been a big gambler. So I go to this casino here and there, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, something like that. Play a little bit with some of the other boxers and stuff, but where I come from, it was a different change because from Winston Salem to Las Vegas is like night and day. It's two different places, and I had even thought myself, that I could possibly end up falling into that because a lot of the boxers I was around, like even though yeah they was putting the work in the gym and everything, but they was out partying almost every night, so I was like, where I come from, it's not these big buildings, it's not always something going on or anything like that. But that it just wasn't for me. That's not me. I don't like the city life. Like I'm a country boy. I don't really like all the movements being around too many people and stuff. So, I'm glad I didn't fall into the what they call it, the Sin City type of vibe, and I still stayed focused and dedicated because, like you said, it's a lot of guys, that in all type of sports, not just boxing. A lot of guys in all type of sports that go out to Vegas and they either fall off or throw their career away because they did something out there in Vegas. And I'm just grateful, that nothing like that had happened to me out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I admire your focus. I'm from Houston, so what I say, I'm a big city Mexican. So
Gotcha.
there's a reason I only did boxing for fun and never took it very seriously.
Yeah.
So switching it up again. So you've talked about how the first time you met Floyd Mayweather, you actually sparred with him, which is amazing.
Yes.
What I really want to know is you specifically. What did you learn from sparring Floyd Mayweather?
Um, I learned so much. Like I'm trying to find the best way to explain it because it's like I didn't have no pro fights at that time. You know,
Mhm.
um, I was getting ready for my no, I had one. I lied. I had one pro fight at that time, and I was getting ready for my second because when I first started sparring him, that's when he was. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was my second because when I first started sparring him, he was getting ready to fight in Dubai against Josh Moore. I think that's his name, Josh Moore, and we ended up fighting the same day
Okay.
because he wanted me to come out there with him to keep sparring and stuff, but while he was in camp, I was in camp too. So and we ended up fighting the same day. But sparring him because I think he was the only one I sparred for that camp too, prepared me way more than what I was would have been prepared for my opponent. And it was just so much to learn from him. You're in there with arguably one of the best fighters in the boxing game ever. You know, so just to learn, like going back to like I said about Shakur, like how you can see the art and the real science behind the boxing, like with Floyd, not just watching it, but actually being in there and seeing it. It was just a whole different experience that it's really hard to explain because you just gotta be in there to see it. Because from the outside, you might be like, oh, I could block that punch, or I could have slipped it, or I could have hit him with this and that. But once you in there, and that's with any fighter, you might be like that. But once you in there with an actual fighter, you really see and understand, okay, this is different from just watching them,
Absolutely.
and he really we had some I had some good sparring sessions with him. I had some bad sparring sessions with him. And the bad ones he really displayed that is real levels, to this. And that's why, I always make sure I work on and try to improve everything that I'm weak at to be better because one of them sparring sessions, like he did me bad, like real
Mhm.
bad. And I was like, I can't never let that happen again. So but obviously, I would have expected that because he's fluid. He's done proven his resume, put in the hard work and stuff. I'm just getting started, so I would have expected that. But still, trying to do what I know I can do against someone like him, it really boosted me to another level because I wasn't thinking I was better than what I am, but I was like, I know what I can do. And then he like really just shut all that down with his boxing ability. So it was so much I took from him, how he threw his jab, how he set up his punches, his feet movement, his head movement. And it was just so much to learn. Like it's an experience that I'll remember forever.
That's amazing. Hey, iron sharpens iron. That's what they
Right.
always say. So, and I do love what you said about how you look at a fighter and it's different from being there. That's why I always kind of complain about boxing fans with their little Twitter fingers. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
move your feet, block the jab, do this, do that. I'm like, bro, you haven't even been in a gym, but
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, because it's not as easy as people think it is. It's a lot that goes into play. It's a lot.
Absolutely. So, um, Totally switching tracks because I see you've got a bunch of Funko Pops in the back, and it seems to
Oh
me you got
yeah.
a. What are those interests that got those Funko Pops behind you?
Oh, I'm interested a lot. Like I really had like the Funko Pops because I like to collect the ones that of shows I like to watch or people. Cause I have some real people too. Like up top, you see, I got the Migos. I got Apollo Creed. Uh, the owner of Golden Boy. Oscar
Oscar De
De
La
La
Hoya.
Hoya. Yeah, yeah. So I like to collect. People. Stuff that I seen actually like. Because there's so many Funko Pops.
Sure.
Um, I never really been into comic books. I like anime a lot though. I like always going back and watching Naruto. That's one of my favorite animes. But outside of boxing, like besides the stuff like that, I like to go fishing, um, dirt bike, four wheeler riding, shooting stuff like that. When I have my free time, I like to do stuff to take my mind off boxing because every day is really just boxing. From the way I eat to the way I train and sleep. Everything is in my schedule is dedicated straight to boxing. So sometimes I like to go do stuff to take my mind off of it.
Sounds like a lot of country type activities, like you said. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's great.